I am Ebony Biko, your mortgage loan officer and host of Real Estate Made Simple, a beginner's playbook for building wealth one property at a time. With over 25 years in the mortgage industry as well as real estate industry, my job is to help you cut through the confusion, avoid costly mistakes, feel confident about every step of the way when it comes to you purchasing your first home or building your real estate investment portfolio and wealth. This podcast is all about real practical mortgage education, the stuff that most people wish they knew before they applied for a mortgage or even signed a contract. I talk about credit, down payments, loan options, interest rates, and everything in between so you can make a smart decision when it comes to your money, your home, your investment, your future. And so today we're tackling one of the most important common questions that I get all the time from borrowers. How long does it take for the mortgage approval process to take? Well, if you're wondering when you'll actually get the clear to close and you'll get your keys, then hold on because this episode is for you. So first, let's set the expectations up front. In a typical market, from the time you go under contract or from the day that you close, you're looking at 25 to 45 days. Do not let nobody tell you 10 days. Usually if it's a 10-day type situation, those are usually hard money loans. And to be honest with you, even then, they're not 10 days. So again, realistically, 25 to 45 days average. But the number depends on a few things. How prepared you are as a borrower, how quickly you send in your documents for the mortgage company, the mortgage broker, the type of loan that you're applying for, that you're using to purchase this property, whether it's a FHA, a conventional loan, a VA loan, a USDA loan, or like I said, it could be a hard money loan. It just depends upon the type of loan. How busy the market is, whether it's the spring or the summer, because depending on the season, it could be lower or it could be slower or it could be faster. It just really depends upon the season, and that is going to play a difference when it comes to the volume of like deals that's going into that lender. How long the appraisal and the title is going to take for it to happen. So for an example, an appraisal, an appraiser to come out, because again, depending upon the season, it could take a week for the appraiser to come out. It could take 2 weeks. It could take a day. But at the same time, just because he come out today or next week does not mean that your lender is going to get the appraisal back that same day. They still need time to go ahead and do the comparables in the area to make sure that the property that you're purchasing and the property that the lender is willing to give their money on and or loan on is worth it. So with that being said, I want to break it down step by step. The pre-approval process overall is 24 to 72 hours, ideally before you shop, meaning looking for the property that you want, or even if you did find the property that you want, it's not guaranteed that you qualify for that. So before we even talk about an approval, we need to talk about a pre-approval. This is where somebody like me will pull your credit with your permission, review your income, assets, and debts. And this is how they come up with your debt to income ratio to see exactly what it is that you qualify for. Then your credit profile will get ran through automated underwriting or DU or LP, depending upon the loan. DU means desktop underwriting. LP means loan prospector. But then also, like I said, it's based upon the lender and the program that you're going through. You don't make that determination. They make it based upon either your credit or your debt to income ratio. If you send me, let's say, a complete, accurate documents right away, your pay stubs, W-2s, tax returns if needed, your bank statements, your ID, a strong pre-approval can typically be issued within 24 to 72 hours because, of course, this is what you will need to give to your realtor so you can show them that you are actually pre-approved to purchase that property or whatever properties that you're looking at. Not to mention it's stronger when you have a pre-approval in hand, going to see a lender or going to see a realtor. You come off as somebody who's really serious and who's anxious to buy. And because of that, they will take you more serious and be really willing to work for you and show you everything versus somebody who just window shopping who does not have a pre-approval. Now, why this is important, because see, a real pre-approval It's not just a quick online pre-qualification, whereas a soft inquiry is done on your credit report or a soft pull. No, this is a hard pull. It's going to tell, the price and range that you can afford based upon a credit, based upon your income, based upon your debt. It strengthens your offer when you're competing with other buyers. It also helps avoid surprises later in the process. Now, I'm going to give you a quick tip. Don't wait until you find a house that you really love to get pre-approved, because you're going to embarrass yourself. And that realtor probably not going to want to work with you. And you're going to go and see a property. If you do, and a realtor is willing to work with you, you might potentially lose out because other people are actually pre-approved and you don't even have an approval. So just don't do that. Do it. Get your pre-approval before you actually start seriously shopping. It can save days off the full approval timeline. So now let's look at this. A full application and disclosure, that's 1 to 2 business days. So once you're under contract on a property, here's the thing. An update or complete your loan application. So that's going to be done, right? Then you're going to end up locking in your rate. Now, if it makes sense at that time, so you're not going to lock it in right away, but if it makes sense at the time, the rates are great, yeah, you want to go ahead and lock it in. You want to be able to send in your full disclosures. You want to have them signed, because generally they're going to send them out electronically. Like, this is a new day and age. Everything is done electronically. Collect any remaining documents that's needed. So with that being said, this is what's going to happen. They're going to say, okay, well, we need your, like, let's say you have 2 recent pay stubs, but then in your pay stubs, it may say that the bulk of your income come from bonuses. They may say, okay, well, do you have your last year's tax returns? Because again, the underwriter can't really accurately calculate what your pay is, because maybe that was a one-time payment. Maybe this is a payment that you get every quarter. Maybe this is a payment you get every month. Maybe it's a payment that you get every 6 months, like a bonus check. So that underwriter may actually ask for additional tax returns. Or maybe the other part of your income comes from child support. So if that being said, then you're going to need proof of this child support. And it's not just a letter from the child's father or the child's mother. No, you're going to need like legitimate documentation, whether it's a court order documentation, whether it's if it was in the last 12 months. Here are canceled checks or direct deposits that goes to my account every month. So basically, have all of your documentation in line when that lender asks for it. This part usually is, the same day, 48 hours, like when they will tell you not only you're pre-approved based on your full application and disclosures, but this is the information that we need from you. Now, here's your role. You want to make sure you open your email, review and sign all of the paperwork. Respond quickly if, let's say, your lender asks for any type of clarification, like they may say, okay, well, we see a large deposit in his bank account. Well, you need to be able to have an explanation for it. We see a late pay. You need to be able to have an explanation for it. We see a recent inquiry. You need to be able to have an explanation for it and clarify what is it for, because believe it or not, that is part of your underwriting. Every day you wait to sign the disclosures and every day you wait to respond to any type of questions that they ask you or clarification can slow down your process and add to your timeline. Now, the next stage of the processing is 5 to 10 days. Now, let me tell you what those 5 to 10 days consist of. So we done already went through, okay, day 1 and 2, the complete full application disclosures, and maybe they're asking you for certain things to add to the documentation. Now, days 5 and 10, your file goes to the processor. Think of your processor as the person that organizes your life story to the underwriter. So your underwriter will fall in love with you and make sure that your deal is approved. So during the processing time, they will order your appraisal, order the title work. The appraisal you have to pay for. The title work you will have to pay for, but that's at closing, your portion. But so does the seller have to pay for their portion. They're going to verify your employment. For the record, they're going to verify real employment. So don't get your buddy to try to verify your employment. It's not going to work, because the reality is they will end up doing like a 4506 and an 8821 just to verify that, hey, this is what you filed. So if you say you work for ABC Finance and your employment was verified for JoJo's Auto for 4 years, then there's a discrepancy right there. Okay. They're going to review your bank statements and pay stubs for any red flags, meaning any large deposits. And that became huge after 9/11, so because of the Patriots Act. So it's basically a money trail, their paper trail. They want to make sure that if there's any large deposits, everything is actually verifiable. So the typical stage for this, like I said, is 5 to 10 business days. However, it's up to you to speed things up. So who you're working with to speed things up. How fast the appraiser can get out to the property and how quick you pay that appraiser to get out to the property. How quickly your employer responds to the verification, whether your documentation is clean or messy. So like I said, during that day 1 and 2, make sure you try to get everything as much as possible. Now, the common delays that will slow down your underwriting process: large or unexplained deposits in your bank account, missing pages in your bank statements, outdated pay stubs or expired documents, side income that isn't properly documented, such as you saying, hey, my child's father or my child's mother give me child support, but yet you're saying that, but it's not verifiable. So make sure everything is verifiable. If you know that you have a second job or changes in jobs or gaps of employment or unusual deposits, I will always say, tell your loan officer, whoever you're working with, up front. The more that we know as a whole, the less likely that it will cause a delay when it comes to your file being processed and getting closed. Now, after that, it goes to the underwriter. So after you're done with the loan processing portion of it, the initial, meaning your processor's putting everything together for your underwriter to fall in love with you to prove your deal. Now it goes to the underwriter. Underwriter usually reviews it within 24 to 72 hours. Once your processor package up everything neatly, your file is going to go ahead and go to the underwriter. This is where the underwriter is going to review your entire file, confirm that you meet all of the loan guidelines based upon whether it's FHA, conventional, VA, etc. Whether you're an investor, 203K, a fix and flip, hard money, it doesn't matter. This is when your underwriter is going to confirm that your file actually meet the loan guidelines that loan officer is applying for you based upon either your conversation or based upon what they think that you should get. This is when the appraisal get reviewed as well as the title report. So the appraisal is reviewed for the purpose of making sure the property is going to appraise out for that loan amount, not even for the record, not for the sales price. They don't care about the sales price. They care about that loan amount more than anything in the world. Here's the thing. The reason being is because the sales price could be $500,000, but they need to make sure that they're going to get their money at the end of the day. So that's really important. It has to appraise out. If it doesn't appraise out, you have to pay the difference. So understand that you could love their property all you want to and say, I'm willing to pay $500,000. But if that appraiser says it's only worth $400,000, guess what? You better figure out how you're going to come up with that extra $100,000. So understand that. Title report. The title report, when an underwriter looks at the title report, they're looking for any type of clouds on the title report, meaning or mechanical liens, things of that nature. And that means on that property. If there's any type of clouds on titles and mechanical liens or outstanding taxes, because they can see all of that on a title, then guess what? That could be a red flag for them to say, we don't want to lend on this property. So they're going to underwrite that appraisal and title also. Understand, I don't care how much you love the property, it really is in your best interest that you are not buying a lemon and responsible for it. Now, issues, what we call conditions or conditional approval. So let me explain that. Typically, first, the underwriting, like I said, is 24 to 72 hours, depending upon the volume. Every file will come back with some type of conditions. That is so normal, so don't get offended. These might be a letter of explanation as to something about your credit, like why you was late, about that extra payment where it looked like maybe you was an authorized user, updated bank statements, or maybe a large deposit, like they're trying to figure out what that deposit is from, a more detailed verification of income if you're self-employed. So maybe they say we need 12 months bank statements, 24 months bank statements, or we need 2 years tax returns. And then they're going to still have you to sign like a 4506 or 8821, which they send over to the IRS to verify that. So no more in the days where people would get bank statements made up pay stubs made up or tax returns made up. No, all this stuff is actually verifiable. So just know that this stuff is going to get verified. After you provide all of these documents, your file actually goes back into underwriting for a final review, which is usually takes 24 to 48 hours. After that, you'll get it clear to close. And then from that, once you get that clear to close, that is going to take another 3 to 7 days. Once all the conditions are satisfied, you'll actually get the magic words like, hey, Ebony, just so you know, you're clear to close. At this stage, the closing disclosures are sent to you. By law, you must receive them at least 3 business days before closing. Your closing date is finalized with the title company as well as the attorney. The final numbers are confirmed, which is how much you need to actually bring to closing or how much you'll receive back if it's a refi, like if it's a cash out refi. You are then scheduled for your signing to get to the closing table. So from clear to close to the actual closing, expect 3 to 7 days, depending upon the scheduling and the required waiting period. So total time, let's add it up in a smooth, typical scenario. Pre-approval, 1 to 3 business days, ideally before you start shopping. Your processing and underwriting appraisal time can take about 2 to 3 weeks. Final approval from closing time, 1 week. That is how I got to the 25 to 45 days windows from contract to closing. So what can slow things down? A few things can actually slow down the time and stretch it all out. Slow paperwork from you, the borrower. It can take you 3 to 4 days to send every document. It may add weeks to your file just because you're taking forever to send the stuff. Send that stuff as soon as possible. Appraisal delays. In hot markets, appraisals can get backed up. Unique or rural properties, it may actually take longer to evaluate because what do they have to compare? It's like, okay, you got the elephant, in a room. Like you got the best property in the rural area, but there's nothing to compare to except for 10 miles down the way. Unlike when you in like an urban area, it's like, okay, within 1 mile range, so it's a big difference. Then there's a complex income type situation, right? You're self-employed, commission-based, multiple side hustles, rental properties, all this require more underwriting views. That is why it's important to make sure you file your taxes. So when they do a 4506 at 8821, you can say, I don't care if I got 8,055 jobs and 8,055 side hustles, or I'm a content creator, whatever the case may be, it's verifiable. Any title issues such as liens, judgments, or problems on the title or chain of ownership can actually cause delays. And when I say chain of ownership, hey, JoJo might have quick claim to deed property over to himself and then all of a sudden try to sell it to you. He only had a right to sell a property. So this is important for you to understand this, but they make sure that this is taken care of. Last minute changes. Changing loan types, adding a co-borrower, switching property mid-process can actually take a lot of time. To speed up the process is all about this. Just make sure, here's some actionable tips to keep everything on track. Get fully pre-approved early. Have your documents ready before you even start making offers. Respond quickly. Treat requests from your loan officer like it's a priority email, like you won the lottery. Hours matters, not days. Avoid big financial moves. Do not open up new credit cards. I don't care how much you may want some new Christian Louboutins and they telling you like, hey, if you open this up at Bloomingdale's, you can get this. No. Financing furniture, buying a car. That is so me with all my cars. Yeah, I love buying cars. Do not do that in the middle of the process, the mortgage process. I don't care what new car come out. Keep your job stable. Don't switch between employers or change how you're paid. Salary to commissions, for examples. During the loan process, unless you've actually discussed it with your loan officer, don't do it. Be honest and upfront. If there's something in the past, like a late payment collection, a job gap, you want to talk about that earlier with your mortgage officer so they won't be surprised and you won't be surprised of anything that can cause a delay. Why understanding the timeline is just so important? Because knowing exactly how long the process takes is just about patience. It's about planning your practical situations. So let's do this. If you're listening and you're thinking about getting a property, I'm ready. I just need someone to walk me through this for my situation. That's exactly what I'm here for, okay? So remember that. I'm here for that. If you need assistance, I am Ebony Biko. My NMLS number is 238-9954. So whether you're a first-time home buyer, real estate investor, I am always here to help you. Make sure, whatever you do though, don't forget, you can always tune in every Wednesday to YouTube Live for Wind Down Wednesdays, where I talk about mortgage and real estate tips and answer all of your questions live and help you to become a more confident and informed borrower. Just search on YouTube at Home Loans Network on YouTube and hit the subscribe button so you would never miss an episode. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Until next time, I'm Ebony Biko, and I will see you on a Wind Down Live Wednesday inside my mortgage mind.